So, it is found.
The goddess of your kin, the queen of the astral, the stillest of seas, Vlaakith has risen.
Today, we're diving into one of the most hated villains in Baldur's Gate 3, Vlaakith, the Lich-Queen. In this video, we'll explore her intriguing origins, the brutal power she wields, and even touch on her few but critical weaknesses. Expect a deep dive into what makes Vlaakith such a formidable and feared force in the Githyanki hierarchy, and why she commands both loyalty and hatred. Long before the worlds we know today came into existence, the Illithids, Mind Flayers, ruled a vast empire called Nealath, spanning across countless worlds and even planes of existence. Their grip was absolute, fueled by their immense psionic power and unrelenting control over countless slaves. Among these enslaved races were the forerunners of the Githyanki, a people whose origins were lost to time, their identity reshaped by generations of bondage and brutal engineering. These ancestors, who once hailed from places like the conquered world of Faragos and the subterranean cities of Zarum, were molded into loyal thralls. The Illithid's empire was so powerful that even the fiends of the Blood War paused their eternal conflict to watch, wondering if anything could break the stranglehold of these psionic overlords. But that hold would not last forever. The tide began to turn during the war, with an insectoid race known as the Vor. Immune to psionics, the Vor pushed the Illithids to desperate measures, leading them to enhance their slave soldiers in tumorigenesis tanks, forging battle-hardened warriors. These modified slaves became longer-limbed, with skin the color of old ivory and pointed ears. They were no longer recognizable as the humans they once were, and their newfound psionic capabilities made them a latent threat to their masters. In the chaos that followed, a leader emerged, Gith. Some stories tell of her as the bodyguard to an Illithid noble, while others claim she was a lowly soldier. But her rage, power, and charisma were unmatched. Gith rallied the slaves and led the rebellion that shattered the Illithid Empire, marking the fall of Nealath and the birth of the Githyanki. However, freedom came at a cost. Gith's rule was that of a war leader, and she prepared to launch a new crusade aimed at eradicating the Illithids for good. Yet, not all Githyanki were willing to follow Gith's iron-fisted rule. Zerthamon, a powerful figure among them, saw Gith as the potential new tyrant. His descent sparked a civil war that left their home a lifeless cinder. Zerthamon's followers, the Githzerai, retreated to Limbo, while the Githyanki, still loyal to Gith, were too weakened to pursue their crusade and instead settled in the Illithid remnants in the astral plane. It was then that Vlaakith, a cunning wizard, became Gith's advisor. When Gith sought alliances for her people, it was Vlaakith who orchestrated a fateful pact. After failed negotiations with gods and chaotic beings, Gith traveled to the Nine Hells and eventually met with Ephelomon, the red dragon consort of Tiamat. In exchange for the Githyanki's future allegiance to Tiamat, Ephelomon agreed to provide a wing of red dragons for their cause. To seal this pact, Gith became a prisoner in Dispater's Iron City, her soul a pawn in the deal. Before leaving, Gith named Vlaakith as her successor. When Gith was imprisoned, Vlaakith took up the mantle of queen and wielded the scepter of Ephelomon, symbolizing their pact with the Red Dragons. Over time, the throne passed through generations, each queen named Vlaakith, until the rise of Vlaakith 157, the current Lich-Queen. The current Vlaakith has ruled for centuries, turning herself into a lich to cement her eternal power. The Githyanki, once a united force, have splintered into various factions, each with its own goals, but ultimately serving the Lich-Queen. Vlaakith's ambition and relentless control, from imposing her will on her people to forbidding any deity worship besides herself, make her one of the most hated and feared figures in Baldur's Gate 3 and beyond. This lineage of rulers named Vlaakith culminated in Vlaakith 157, who took the throne with unmatched ambition. Unlike her predecessors, she did not pass the crown to a daughter. Instead, she embraced lichdom, granting herself eternal undeath to rule forever. As a lich, Vlaakith is a sapient, animate corpse with shriveled, desiccated skin clinging to her bones. Her eyes have long rotted away, replaced by glowing red motes in empty sockets. While some descriptions portray her as blackened, others depict her with the pale yellow skin typical of Githyanki. She is often adorned in a revealing black dress, a dark purple cloak covered in eyes, the crown of corruption upon her head, and the ruby-encrusted scepter of Ephilemon always in her grasp. Vlaakith's rule is defined by paranoia and an insatiable lust for power. She demands absolute obedience, reacting with lethal force to any hint of disloyalty. No Githyanki whose power even begins to approach her own survives for long, as she consumes their souls to maintain her supremacy. Her loyalty to her people is non-existent. She sees them as expendable tools in her quest for godhood. Her palace, Susurrus, is a place steeped in death and agony, where she has tortured and killed thousands, using their bodies as macabre decoration. The souls of her victims remain trapped within Susurrus, creating an endless chorus of whispers that Vlaakith finds soothing. Ruling for nearly 1,000 years, Vlaakith has built a cult of personality where she is worshipped, though never openly called a deity. Her control ensures the Githyanki's dependence, as she is the only one capable of casting powerful spells like Gate, used in their raids on the material plane. Her ultimate goal is to ascend beyond lichdom and achieve true godhood. To fuel this ambition, she has employed extreme measures, including casting thousands of wish spells to draw power from the divine corpse on which Tu'narath is built. Her soul-devouring practices primarily serve this purpose, enabling her to maintain the vast magical power needed for her aspirations. If Vlaakith 157 were to succeed in her ascension, she would become a deity of evil and destruction, leading the Githyanki on a campaign of multiversal conquest. Vlaakith 157 stands as the most powerful of the Githyanki, wielding arcane mastery and psionic abilities that place her above all others. Her knowledge extends deep into arcane, historical, planar, and religious matters, alongside her remarkable skill as an alchemist. Beyond her scholarly abilities, Vlaakith is a formidable wizard specializing in necromancy and transmutation, surpassing mortal limits with spellcasting precision honed to breach even the most resistant defenses. Her arsenal of spells is vast, featuring devastating abilities such as Finger of Death, Time Stop, Wish, and Wail of the Banshee. Her metamagic expertise allows her to enhance her spells for greater impact and duration, ensuring that no opponent is safe from her wrath. Vlaakith's prowess includes a vast array of spells, including Disintegrate, Dominate Monster, and True Seeing, cementing her status as an unparalleled wielder of arcane power. Like all Githyanki, Vlaakith possesses innate psionic powers, though her wizardry far surpasses these abilities. She can wield telekinesis and teleport across planar boundaries, demonstrating her dominance in any realm she deems necessary. As a lich, Vlaakith's body is fortified by negative energy, causing harm to those who touch her and enabling her to paralyze victims with a mere touch. Her most critical asset is her phylactery, which allows her to resurrect within days if her corporeal form is destroyed, making her effectively immortal unless both her body and phylactery are eradicated. Vlaakith's appearance is both fearsome and regal. Her desiccated, skeletal form, with skin stretched taut over bone and empty eye sockets glowing with crimson light, contrasts sharply with her chosen attire, a revealing black dress beneath a dark purple cloak covered in eyes. The crown of corruption rests upon her head, and she wields the scepter of Ephilemon, an artifact that grants her control over red dragons and the ability to summon one each week. The crown itself can drain the life force of creatures and animate them as undead under her command. Vlaakith also possesses a suite of defensive abilities that render her difficult to harm. She has resistance to cold, lightning, and necrotic damage, and she is immune to poison and attacks from non-magical weapons. Her legendary resistance allows her to automatically succeed on saving throws multiple times per day, making her nearly impossible to defeat through conventional means. Her offensive capabilities are matched by her fearsome tactics in battle. She can wield her silver greatsword with lethal precision, capable of cutting the silvery cord tethering astral travelers to their physical bodies. Her paralyzing touch delivers cold damage and can immobilize foes. Vlaakith's fear aura and legendary actions, including a terrifying gaze, paralyzing touch, and the ability to make her sword attack independently, ensure that she remains a relentless opponent capable of overwhelming even the most prepared adventurers. Vlaakith 157's might is such that she actively eliminates any Githyanki whose power threatens her own. Her reign is secured through violence and soul-devouring rituals, ensuring that no rival can ascend to challenge her. Her goal of achieving true godhood drives her to pursue power at any cost, from the consumption of her people's souls to the use of thousands of wish spells to siphon divinity from the very corpse upon which Tunarath rests. In battle, Vlaakith is a force to be reckoned with, wielding her magical artifacts and vast spell repertoire with unmatched cunning. Her legendary actions and powerful artifacts make her a formidable opponent whose defeat requires not only exceptional skill, but the destruction of her phylactery to ensure she does not return stronger than before. Vlaakith's rule has been chronicled through various tales and adventures, each illustrating her cunning and dominance. In A Guide to the Astral Plane, we see Vlaakith's command of Tunarath, a city built upon the corpse of a dead god, symbolizing her ambition and unyielding control. Her reach extends through her pact with the Red Dragons, binding them under her rule with the Scepter of Ephilimon. Her presence is felt in every raid on the material plane, as the Githyanki wield their might under her watchful gaze. Christopher Perkins, the Lich-Queen's beloved, places adventurers face to face with Vlaakith herself, detailing her relentless pursuit of godhood. It's here that her palace, Susurrus, stands as a fortress of torment, housing the countless souls she has claimed, their whispers haunting its halls. This adventure captures not only her formidable power, but also the stakes of opposing her, the challenge and consequence that come with facing the Lich-Queen. But her influence doesn't end with her reign. In Robert J. Schwab's A Tyranny of Souls, we glimpse the chaos that follows her hypothetical death, where the Githyanki face internal strife, unsure how to proceed without their eternal ruler. Even in death, Vlaakith's shadow looms over her people, leaving them fragmented and lost without her iron rule. Her legacy of cruelty is further showcased in the Ecology of the Devourer, where Vlaakith's use of devourers highlights her paranoia and her ruthless methods of eliminating potential threats. This is the true measure of her rule, unforgiving, calculated, and utterly devoid of trust. Vlaakith's legacy extends beyond the Githyanki, spilling into campaigns like Incursion, A World Under Siege by James Wyatt, where she leads an invasion of the material plane. Her strategies and military might exemplify her as a tactician whose ambitions know no boundaries, solidifying her as not only a Githyanki queen, but an existential threat to all who stand in her path. She is a force that shapes worlds and destinies, instilling both fear and fascination across the multiverse. Her legacy remains, woven into the very fabric of the planes, reminding all who dare challenge her of the price of defiance. The story of Vlaakith, the Lich-Queen, who shaped the fate of the Githyanki and left an indelible mark on the multiverse. Now it's your turn. Who do you want to see covered next? Are there other powerful figures or mysterious tales from Baldur's Gate 3 or D&D lore you're curious about? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic lore and histories. Until next time, keep exploring, keep adventuring, and stay legendary.
You are being lied to.